Hello, Stephanie, here from Paradigm Expansions. I have been reflecting on the number of changes I'm seeing in my life. I have had a beautiful transformation over the past 4 years, and I want to share some of the practices that I've heard and put into really consistent, regular practice in my life and the ways that I've seen my life change. I still am at a point of wanting to free myself in new ways now that I've reached what was my dream life from 4 years ago. My my desires continue to expand. And it's not the analogy of running somewhere and never quite getting there and the target being moved. It's not that. The analogy is more wanting to experience life like a blossoming flower. And that first blossom happening, and then realizing there's more layers, layer upon layer upon layer, and there's more people. There's at first, it seemed like dozens of people who had taken this path that I want to take. And now I'm seeing hundreds of people, and there may actually be thousands of people. So, this is my encouragement to you that if you have a deep calling in your heart to live a beautiful life, to live a life of unbelievable freedom. Freedom when it comes to your time, your wealth, your love, to live a life of unbelievable abundance. These things that may seem either like, I don't know if I deserve that or I don't know if that's possible. When your heart is desiring those things, this I trust in my experience so far I deeply trust to be your heart calling to you to live the life that was meant for you. Your heart is your compass towards this next level. The life that you're living now is within a system that someone else made up that may have helped humanity at a certain time, may have helped some groups more than others. It's pretty much built in survival, a little bit of scarcity in there. It's not the truth. It's just what someone else's idea was that a lot of people have agreed on. There is a deeper truth that exists that is written in your heart that you know is there. As I'm saying it, you know that it's there. And I'm telling you, yes, it's there. You're right. You're onto something. Keep going. And the way that I have found it is through meditations and is not through like Buddhist and Vipassana meditation was difficult for me because I treated that as very performative. I'm used to being a perfectionist and I felt really disconnected from my body. It wasn't the path. That is the path for some people. For me, the path was healing my heart and throat to start with through chakra meditations. And I used things that were interesting for my brain that are associated with chakras, colors, elements, visuals, characters within my own heart, analogy, metaphor. I have always been really interested in fantasy books, so it makes sense for me that my particular brain responded really well to these sorts of meditations where it allowed it to click in, where I could listen to the voice of my heart because I was creating a language that my physical human self understood and that my spiritual self could speak to me. So, the whole goal of really any meditation practice, any spiritual practice, any intuitive practice is to find that common language between your physical human self and your spiritual self. And that's why there's not one path, but there are many paths that all lead to the same road of love. There are many branches of this tree, as Khalil Gibran has said in some of his poems. There are many fingers on the same hand that all have the same purpose. So chakra meditations and visualizations are what allowed me to make that connection to my inner self, to heal my heart, to heal my throat, so that I could start to trust my intuition again and recall what its voice sounded like and honor that living from my heart meant that I can both live my from my highest ideal, which in turn meant serving in bigger ways than self-sacrifice. Okay, so this is what has worked for me. And as I've continued my practice, this is what I want to share with you. As I've continued my practice over the past few years, I have noticed that there are subtle ways that I have been able to prune my thoughts, where if you are just starting out and hearing from spiritual masters and personal development coaches and teachers about changing your mindset towards really focusing on what you want and letting go of worry and anxiety of what you don't want, because then you're attracting that into your life, etc. I have been able to experience that at a more nuanced level. When I first tried that, it didn't totally click in because it sounds really simple. But for those of us that have been living for decades in a indoctrinated scarcity and fear-based and performative type of culture, that it's easy for your ego to like still take some sort of teaching and plug it into your existing paradigm and find some loopholes of why your existing paradigm works, but that you're still trying this. For example, things like, oh, well, I know that I need to feel my feelings, so I'm going to go ahead and dwell on this negative thing that happened 2 years ago that I feel triggered by right now because I don't want to ignore my feelings. Okay, that this is taking the idea, the teaching that you need to feel your feelings and giving it that loophole of I'm going to go ahead and ruminate and dwell. So there are nuances, there are tricks that we all have, and this is why it's very good to be patient with yourself and why it is good to see rewiring your brain as a serious practice. Just like if you wanted to develop a new habit, if you want to change your body, you go to the gym and you get a regular practice. Perhaps you get a personal trainer, you follow a regimen, and you understand that if you go to the gym for 6 months, you're going to see results. And then if you go for 6 months and then decide, I got my results, I'm good, and then you stop, and then you go back to your old habits, your results are going to disappear. That makes sense to us. So, in a really similar way to spiritual understanding of connecting with your heart, we do have to practice. We have to be in a daily practice. And the things that I practice now in my own spiritual training that have led to unbelievable fulfillment and overflowing joy, that gets my capacity for joy and love expands. And I'm doing this with my partner. And he's on a similar path, and we're different in what our higher selves are, but we are both on this same journey of going deeper into who we are, becoming the best versions of ourselves, becoming the best couple together. It means that we can love each other really well and let go of what bothers us about the other person and give a lot of grace, give a lot of compassion, bring a lot of love to the relationship. It keeps getting better. So, what I have seen in my and what I have practiced in my daily spiritual practice includes a regular practice of gratitude that goes beyond a spiritual bypass. That's like a serious, both, it's a multifaceted gratitude practice where it's like, okay, what's going right in my life? How can I feel so happy about what's going right that I love in my life right now? And sit in it and feel it. And I love to see my in my heart chakra my heart chakra as a garden. And I see gratitude really fitting in with my heart chakra. And I do a daily chakra meditation that's sometimes 2 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes. The heart chakra includes love, forgiveness, and gratitude for me. And they're really tied together. And so I love to do also this visualization of my heart, my the garden of my heart, the garden of my soul in my heart chakra being beautiful. And I love to visualize pulling weeds as a form of forgiveness. I love to visualize sitting and seeing the beautiful plants that are there as my gratitude practice. And then I love to sit and see, what do I want to plant? And I feel golden seeds in my hand and I plant them. And it's really intentional. It's embodied. I'm really imagining it fully. And I'm planting these golden seeds with gratitude and trusting that they will grow. And so I'm having gratitude for my future desires. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And other people have said this, and this is just my way of practicing it. So I'm offering that to you, and you can look into some more of my meditations where, this is a full-on practice. This is years of me developing what's worked for me, what's worked for my clients. Another thing that I do is a regular acceptance practice. This is especially in areas that I want to grow where I'm coming up against some resistance. Okay, so a regular acceptance practice, and I have coaches where I keep myself accountable. Oh, I'm really feeling some resistance here. A lot of my resistance right now is around money. And my coaches are are good about helping me remember that I need to accept exactly where I'm at. And then, it's very tied in. Like all of the practices are very tied in, but it's its own intentional practice. Okay, forgiveness, also in the heart chakra, as we've talked about, daily part of my practice, especially for myself. For my clients, I start out, anyone that comes to me, I start out with a forgiveness practice of forgiving myself for believing I wasn't good enough. Very important. If you don't know where to start, I would recommend you start here, feeling into your heart, offering forgiveness for believing I wasn't good enough. You can write it down, you can say it to yourself, you can look in the mirror and say it to yourself. Okay? The next thing I do is a practice of intention. What do I want my day to be like today? How do I want to experience it? Sometimes it's a what, but more often than not, it's a how do I want to experience this day? How do I want other people to feel after having interacted with me? And sometimes I visualize it, sometimes I write it down, and I like to reflect on it at the end of the day. If I'm particularly anxious, if I've had a week of like, I want to control it, I want this outcome and I'm going to control it. And then I reflect on, ooh, I know how I just interacted with that person at the grocery store, and like I probably was a little bit like, zzz, and it probably wasn't the feeling of how I intended, of really wanting to be a blessing to everyone that I came into contact with. So then, there's some forgiveness there as well, and kind of like a recommitment. I am very soft with myself and very compassionate with myself. I do hard workouts. I love moving my body. I don't do hard workouts to punish my body. I do hard workouts because my body now needs it and it makes me feel like a child in a good way. Like when I need to do sprints, it's hard. I'm out of breath. I never thought that I would get into CrossFit, but I got into CrossFit and I love it. I love it. We do all sorts of gymnastic-y things that's fun. We do box jumps. We do double unders with the jump rope. We do burpees. Today we did burpee pull-ups. Burpee, jump up and do a pull-up. It's hard. It's super hard, but it's fun in a way that like I loved that when I was a kid. You couldn't get me off the monkey bars. And so there's something about like inviting my child self into these workouts that's super fun and where I feel like I'm getting to use my body and my body needs it. And then there's like a higher self appreciation for getting to move my body in this way. So I'm telling you, what I'm telling you in summary is that I'm in this practice now after 4 years. This isn't where I started. I started with exercise, okay, when I was like, I'm super fucking depressed and I don't like my life and I don't like anything about my life. How did I get here? Because I have a good life. Have a good setup. And I started with exercise. I started with therapy. I was like, this therapy's not really working. Let me try some vigorous exercise. And that is what set me on the path to then be able to get the therapy to really sink in because I'm setting up my body for success. It is insane that we are eating absolute shit as a culture and not moving our bodies. Of course, we're depressed. Okay, it doesn't physiologically, of course, we're depressed. You got to move your body. All right, it doesn't have to be that you do CrossFit, but please, this is your vessel. This is a sacred vessel and it has to move. It can be in ways that feel good for you to move. I remember when I was in my PhD program, there was a friend that I had who I remember saying, I'm so sick of seeing all these exercise trials. I know that exercise works, but people don't do it. So give me something else that works, that's still functional. Okay, like I can't even tell you the amount of studies that there are that have studied exercise for physical outcomes, spiritual outcomes, emotional outcomes, any sort of health outcomes. Exercise is good for us in every way possible. It's good for our bodies, it's good for our hearts, it's good for our brains. It sets us up to be able to focus. It makes us happy. It makes us live longer. It makes us feel better. It is insane that we have set up society where we are so sedentary and then where we are eating things that put us into even more of a coma. So this is not to put to don't feel shame, like you don't want to feel shame for any of this and then decide not to start. This is a structural thing that we've done with our society and we need to change it. Okay, so exercise, if you don't know where to start, exercise is one option and self-forgiveness is another option. These are two beautiful places to start where you can make a commitment to walk 10 minutes a day and you will start to see changes. You can make a commitment to take 2 minutes a day to put your hands on your heart, to feel the light that you have in your heart and tell yourself, I forgive you. I forgive you for believing that you aren't good enough. Okay. After 4 years of practicing this, of exercising, now of adding in cold showers, of adding in the sauna. LA Fitness has a sauna. I am so blessed to have a gym membership there and use the sauna at times that are convenient for me, and they have showers too. Eating well, eating foods that make my body feel good. Sleeping. Oh, not seeing sleep as a luxury. Okay, because when I was in the PhD program, it was like a badge of honor to sleep 4 hours a night. I think we're shifting out of that hustle culture a little bit post-COVID. Pre-COVID, a lot of you felt it. This was like who slept the least. This means that you're serious about life because you're working hard. You want to achieve more? Set your alarm clock back 30 minutes. Wake up that 30 minutes earlier. You're going to be ahead of everyone else. That's bullshit. We need sleep. We need sleep. So, I don't always get 8 hours of sleep, but I see sleep not as a luxury that I have to work for, but I see it as something my body needs. I have shifted my idea around my body being a servant to perform in the ways that I needed it to perform in order to have others perceive me as being a successful, serious person, into seeing my body as a sacred vessel that I am so grateful for and honoring my body and treating it well with good food, sleep, and exercise. I didn't do everything at once. I did this slowly, but after 4 years, I feel like I've been able to incorporate a lot of really amazing practices into my routine without it being a checkbox struggle and without it taking over my whole life, where I feel super effective at my job and at my business. And, it's an ebb and flow. It's not like I do the same thing every day. And so my stream of consciousness invitation to you to start with exercise, to start with forgiveness. And I felt inspired to tell you this so that you can see that when you start, you you will build up momentum and you will get to a place of your heart's desire being met time and time again. I am so thrilled that you have found this video and that you're on this path. I am sending you so much love right now, across time, across space, so much compassion and patience to get started on this calling of listening to your heart. This is a beautiful time, the beginning of the next transformation for you. Invite it in. I am including links in the description below. I'm a spiritual coach. I've developed some stunning meditation programs that have worked for me. If you want to check it out, if you like my vibe and you're like, I'm at a place that I need some help, I've hired lots of coaches myself. Coaches are super helpful. People who have been on the path that you're on and are a little bit ahead and can guide you. It's always your own journey. It's your own journey that you have to walk. It's not someone else's journey. But I love having coaches. So I am including those links. And if you want to hop on a one-on-one discovery call to see, are we a good fit? I'm including that link below too. And either way, I'm going to keep sharing these videos. So please subscribe. I love sharing this with you. And I'm so grateful that you're here. Welcome. Let's go on this ride. You've got this. Lots of love to you.